This air compressor gives me more air than most store-bought units, and I built it for half the cost. With the high demand of needing air tools for my Jeep projects, my J20, my Wrangler 1-ton swap, I needed something that could keep up with me. So here's exactly how I built this compressor if you guys want to know. So I started with a tank for 40 bucks off of Facebook Marketplace. Honestly, it was a pretty good tank. I didn't look inside of it. I was taking a gamble on it by not looking inside of it. So if you guys can, make sure you look inside of it, make sure it's not rusted out. From there on, after I bought the tank, I popped open the bongs or the bushings on both sides. So the bushing, there's a bushing here, and there's a bushing on the bottom. I went through and I pressure washed everything in the tank, ran water through it, swirled it around, got all the dirt and debris out of there, and it was actually really clean, so I didn't have to worry about it. I lucked out on that one. A lot of you guys I know will probably buy them and they'll be rusty or whatever, so just make sure that you can verify that these aren't rusty, because if they're rusty then you just wasted 40 bucks. So anyways, so then I went to Harbor Freight and they had a pump in stock. It was between the 3-horse and the 5-horse. I ended up going with the 5-horse V-twin 2-stage compressor. A couple reasons I wanted this one. I wanted to build something big. I could just go to Tractor Supply and buy a compressor, a whole setup for, you know, 700 to 800 bucks, but it's only going to put out 8, 9, 10 CFM. I wanted something high, so this one does 15 CFM, 2-stage, which is super important, and the best part, there's only 240 bucks. So after I got the compressor pump, I figured, oh geez, how am I gonna power this? Well, the old motor that came on the compressor didn't work for me. The shaft was keyed all wrong and everything, so I ended up picking up this EMZ compressor. It's a 5-horse compressor, single phase, 230 volts, super nice compressor, continuous duty, non-reversible, thermal protective, shaft is 7/8, which in this kind of application you want 7/8 over something like 5/8. You know, you want something a little bit bigger to pull. So anyways, I ordered this one. This was about 280 bucks. So I had this and this. Then here came the fab part of it. So I busted out my CAD, cardboard aided design, and I fabbed all this up. Cut the cardboard out to what I wanted, cut my template, ran my beads on here, ran beads on there, and I'll drop some footage of that right here. So that's the fab part of it. As you can see on this side, just have a V-groove type A belt. Make sure that our pulleys are lined up. Our pulley, this one was a 5.5-inch pulley. Picked this up for 30 bucks on Amazon, 20 bucks on Amazon. 7/8 shaft keyed, 5.5-inch pulley. This is a 16.5-inch pulley. If you do the math, it'll tell you what RPMs you need to run this sufficiently at 15 CFM. After you do that, it's just a matter of doing the calculations to buy the right belt. Once you buy the right belt, put that sucker on there and pull it tight within a 1/2-inch deflection. So you want a 1/2-inch deflection in your belt. So go around to this side. Let's talk a little bit more about our plumbing. So it comes with the 3/4 fitting. It also comes with a 1/2 inch fitting. Now a lot of guys online were like, I can't figure out what fitting this is. And maybe I didn't, but when I went to the parts store, I found that this is just your regular MPT. You know, your national pipe thread. So that made it super easy. This line's super tight. And I was gonna do a black iron out of here and down, but I ended up just finding a hose on Amazon for 40 bucks, and that ended up working out perfect. Has 3/4 MPT on this side, screws right into here, Tefloned everything, and then I ran it all the way down. Just goes right into our bung here. And this bung, let me tell you guys, was a pain to get out of here. All right. Basically, this is a 2-inch to 3/4 inch bung with a 3/4 inch MPT check valve for a tank, to a 3/4 inch 90, to your 3/4 inch male to male fitting to go into your 3/4 inch compressor hose. And I'll put a link for this in the online. Same with our check valve here. So off of the check valve, there's this little 1/4 inch line here. I know my dark. This tells your pressure switch when to shut off. So it runs through here and clicks that. So when the compressor's running and it goes psh, that basically triggered this switch to shut off. And that's about it. So that's our intake side of it. You could do all this out of black iron. You could black iron 90 3/4 down into there, but this hose was 40 bucks. Easy day. Not too worried about it. So from our compressor motor, our electric motor here, which is an EMZ, we'll see how it runs. I've heard good and I've heard bad, but I wanted to keep this compressor low budget, so I didn't want to keep it, you know, get a $1,000 motor. So I ran 10 gauge SOOW cable, the same stuff I used for my my panel install video, the last video I did. Just ran this to here and ran it into here, and I'll drop a clip of that. I think I have a short of that actually. If you go check out my shorts, there's a short of how I ran this, but it's super easy. I'll pop this cover off right now. So here's a look into our electrical. So all it is just line 1, line 2, and ground coming off our 10 gauge. And that follows to here. And then you have your line 1 and line 2. Grounds wired together. And then off of there you have your ground, line 1 and line 2. This says motor, this says switch, super easy. Coming out of here, running this way, and it goes into our 30 amp plug on the wall. That's the electrical side of the house. So we have pump, motor, we covered our drain, all 3/4 inch. This is a little add-on here that you don't have to do, but I did. This is 1/8 inch brass. I think I did a 4 inch with a cap, and this is solely just for draining the oil. There's a plug in here, and I guess I could have notched this or something and ran it better, but I don't know, for 10 bucks I just bought this little stubby part here, Teflon it all together. Now I can pop this cap off and drain my oil out here. So moving on, talk about our regulator. So this is just 3/8 6-inch pipe, galvanized. Bought this for 5 bucks. Then I went to Harbor Freight for their 20% off sale, and I picked up a regulator and lubricator. So this is going to regulate to our 90 psi that most air tools require. I got it set at 100 now, but 90 psi that 90 psi that most air tools require. This is our lubricator. It's under pressure, so I can't open it. But this is super nice. You just add in your oil right here, adjust your flow, and you can add oil right to your line. So that's super nice. So moving on, get down low here, see if we can get a couple of pictures of the drain for you guys. So down here, we have a 2-inch to 1/2 inch bung, or not bung, bushing, my bad. And then we have a 8-inch, 1/2 inch black iron to a 1/2 inch valve. Works perfect. I was gonna throw a auto drain on there for like 30 bucks, and I still might, but I'm not gonna use this compressor that much to justify having the auto drain. So it needs a paint job, it needs all the stickers peeled off, but yeah, I'm happy with it. It pumps up and it works. All right, ignore my shitty handwriting. Let's talk prices. So we have our 5 horsepower Harbor Freight compressor pump. This bad boy that the big black twin cylinder back there. That was $240. Now with the 20% off coupon like they're running this weekend as in December 13th or whatever it is today, you can get this cheaper. You could probably get this for $200 roughly. And then EMZ motor, 5 horsepower, single phase, 230 volts. I picked it up for roughly $290. You could go with a Vevor 5 horsepower single phase for like in the 170 range. You could also go up to like a Century or I forget whatever other names are, up in the $500, $600, $700 range. You could go crazy with the motor if you wanted. I've heard bad things about the Vevor. I've heard all right things about the EMZs. The Centuries are pretty good. So you get crazy with this. This is just what I went through. So about 300 bucks. That was shipped to my door. And then this jumper hose here, the 3/4 inch jumper hose, MPT, was $34 on Amazon. Which, in my mind, is a little bit cheaper than buying all 3/4 inch black iron. Then, you have a 3/4 inch compressor check valve. That was the one that this line goes into. That was $18 on Amazon. You can get that size, whatever size you want to get. I just went 3/4 to 3/4 because that's what I wanted. Our electrical portion of a compressor, so I got 13 feet of 10 gauge, is $2.64 a foot. You can get that cheaper, I'm sure. And a 30 amp plug, the total was $51 for our electrical. Now, if you go shorter plug, cheaper, whatever, 10 gauge, whatever, you can get that down. Our intake, we're going to skip here. We're going to stay on intakes. Our intake was a 2 inch to 3/4 inch bushing and a 90-degree elbow. That combined was $10. Pick that up at my local plumbing store. All right. Now our drain, the one at the bottom of the tank. That was a 2 inch to a 1/2 inch bushing, 8 inch by 1/2 inch black iron pipe, 1/2 inch 90, 1/2 inch valve. That was roughly $24. And that's up here at Ace Hardware. We don't have a Home Depot or nothing. So if you had a Home Depot or a Menards, you could certainly probably do that cheaper. All right. Next, the belt. I got it at AutoZone. It was $11. And that's really about it. Oh, I guess I should have added on here, our pulley for our motor was $20 on Amazon as well. So our pulley was 20 bucks, so about $310 for the motor setup. And that's just what you would find at the store. That's what the big compressors come with, right? It doesn't come with a lubricator, doesn't come with a regulator, doesn't come with any fittings. All it comes with is this. Now the metal for me was free. It was some scrap stuff at work, so I didn't worry about that too much. But you could get the metal for probably 50 bucks. It's not much metal at all. So you get the metal for 50 bucks. Or you might already have a compressor that will work with this. Mine didn't. You might not even need the metal. So that's give or take whatever. So total with everything, not including the regulator, was $690. The Harbor Freight lubricator and regulator ran me 80 bucks, so it brought the total to $770. So for roughly $800, I have a 15 CFM 2-stage compressor, 60-gallon tank, with a lubricator, with a regulator, with the fittings. All it took was a little hard work, and we got it done. Now this whole thing cost me roughly $800. Could I have built it cheaper? 100% I could have built it cheaper. Could have went with the 3 horsepower motor. Could have went with a 3 horsepower pump. And that would have ran me way cheaper. I didn't even do the math on that because I haven't done it yet. This could have been a 1/2 inch line instead of 3/4. Our fittings down here could have been 1/2 inch instead of 3/4. This could have been just a mini regulator and not a lubricator, and then you just add oil to your airline. So there's a lot of things that I could have done to make it cheaper, but I'm happy with the setup that I have. Now, on the flip side, there's a lot of things that could make this build more expensive. One being a better motor, maybe not a Harbor Freight pump, but mostly if you guys didn't have this already. This is like $100. You can buy one of these at Harbor Freight for probably $20. This is $20 at Napa. So $900, you could have had a full compressor. And even so, even if you could not find a tank, or you didn't want to find a tank, or you didn't trust the tanks that were for sale near you, $550 will get you a new 60-gallon tank, maybe even an 80-gallon tank. So there are a few things that I would change about this compressor, about this build. If I were to build this again, there are a few things I would change. I would change, one, I would plan my build a lot better. I ended up having to cut a hole up here because my fittings down here for my intake didn't fit. So I would have raised this up a little higher. I maybe would have went with the 3 horse instead of the 5 horse, but there was a restocking fee. I didn't want to pay the restocking fee. Solely just to cut costs, just to cut weight. I'm not mad at the thing I did, but that's one way you guys could. I definitely would have cleaned my tank out a little bit better before I built things, like removing this bung. I actually removed this bung 2 days ago to get this to fit. So I welded everything together, mounted everything, and then I had to take this bushing out. Bushing, not bung, bushing. Then I had to take this bushing out. Pain. I maybe would have put the compressor on a skid or on wheels or something, made it a lot more maneuverable. I would have done all of my drain work on the bottom before I did my top work. I just would have planned I would have sat down and planned the compressor a lot better than what I did. It turned out, but it just the building wise, it would have been a lot easier to plan it out. And that happens with everything you build for the first time. If I were to build another one of these again, it'd take me half the time. And then finding this was another pain. So just know that this fitting is just MPT. That's all it is. I'm sure someone out there is going to tell me something differently, and maybe it is something different, but I found that MPT works fine. So do you need this compressor? Do you need this compressor? The average person, no, probably not at all. You'd probably be fine with a DeWalt, with an Ingersoll Rand, with a Quincy at whatever, a DeWalt or an Ingersoll Rand at Tractor Supply for $700 on sale Black Friday. You'd probably be fine. 10 CFM, it's gonna run your die grinder, it's gonna run your belt sander, it's gonna run your DA, it's gonna run them fine. This gives me a little extra security in running these things, and honestly, for the price, it cost me $700-800 to build this to this size, as where it would have cost me $700-800 for something a little smaller. Now, if you're just doing bike tires or car tires or just a simple die grinder every once in a while, you probably don't need this. But doing custom fab work, I got the 1 ton axle swap coming up, and the J20 build that I got to start on again soon. I figured I'm going to switch over to air. I'm going to try it. I got a lot of electric tools, and I know Milwaukee makes a DA sander, and they make a belt sander, and they make all these tools, but you're looking at $1,000 for 4 tools, as where I got 4 tools and a compressor for under $1,000, right? So I don't mind the air hose. We're going to see how it goes. I've always wanted to build one of these, so I went ahead and did it. Do you guys at home need it? Maybe you don't. Just think about what you want for your air supply before you commit to a project like this. Because Harbor Freight's got some good air compressors in the 6-7 CFM range. I think it's 5 point something. I have to check again. In the 5 CFM range that would get you by just fine. And Tractor Supply's got the 10 and 11 and 12 CFM ones for roughly the same price that would do it, you know. But if you want to get into the 2-stage 15 CFM 5 horsepower 220 volt, you're looking at $1,800. I built this for $800. You're looking at $1,000 less. So yeah. So one upgrade that I am considering doing is bigger pressure switch. Get this tank up to 175. I think it would like me a lot better. This works for what I need it for, but once I add a paint sprayer, I'm gonna have to do an air dryer. The drain, automatic drain at the bottom, I might change that out and plug it in and do an automatic drain. I gotta build my belt guard yet. Other than that, I don't think I would change a thing. The 6-minute stress test taught me a lot of things about this compressor and how it's running. I had a little bit of an issue building past 110 psi after I ran it. So my cut-in pressure is 90 and my cut-out pressure for the compressor is set at 125. That's just what the pressure switch was set at when I bought it. It came on the tank, so I didn't change it. I know I talked about in the video changing it out, and I think I'm going to. And here's why. So it has a problem catching up with the demand of the air tool, which I don't know why, but what I think is that you pull air at 90 psi. So the tool is pulling air at 90, and that tank immediately drops below the cut-in. Now the compressor is running at 100% duty, but there's no pressure buffer. So any small flow deficit shows up instantly. You can see it, right? There's nowhere for pressure to recover. Now how it's supposed to work is that the tank stores the high pressure energy, so it stores above that 90 psi. The regulator regulates down to 90. The pump puts out 15 CFM. The tool demands 4 to 6 CFM. So essentially excess air in the tank is what recharges the tank. The tank pressure stabilizes instead of it collapsing it, right? The tank becomes the buffer, basically. So when you have it and it cuts in at 125 and cuts out at 150, you're giving that compressor a head start already. When it's cutting in at 190 and cutting out at 125 and the tool's running full balls at 90, it's just not going to keep up. And you would think it would, because the compressor's at 15 and the tool's only at 4, so why 15 is bigger than 4, right? Easy math. But another thing that you got to realize about 2-stage compressors is that they run most efficient at a higher discharge pressure. They lose effectiveness when they're forced to live around that 90 to 125, and they're designed for the 150 to 175 range. So I think I'm really limiting my pump by not having it set at the 125 to 150 range. And I wish I could go up to the 175, but my tank just isn't rated for it. So I want to jump on here and show you guys and explain why that was happening. I am going to switch out that pressure switch here to adjustable one, set it at 125, have it cut out at 150, and I'll keep you guys updated how that works out for me. But yeah, so enjoy the rest of the video. I just want to jump in and say that. So as you guys saw with the stress test there, with our 6-inch sander, I think this pulls roughly 4 CFM. It took about a minute to drain it from 120 down to 90, and then to bring it back up to 120, we were at the 5-minute mark, and it couldn't really push past 110. If you guys have any ideas in the comments on why, If you guys have any ideas, drop in the comments why it's not getting me past then. So that's my compressor build. I'm gonna get out of here. I got shit to work on. And remember, like always, you're not living unless you're living lost. Peace.